Hey, what's going on? This is Marra from the band Plush, and you're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen.
Mariah Formica, two-time guest of Guitar Tales. Thank you so much for that bumper. What a great introduction. What a meteoric rise we've gotten to watch, not even from afar, but nearby with the great band Plush, Mariah Formica. And welcome to another edition of Guitar Tales. As we do every week, we want to thank our sponsor, Charles Larita of Mischief Studios. They do such great stuff. If you need your guitar fixed, if you need to buy a guitar, if you want to record the next great American pop song or rock song or otherwise, give Charles a call. He's a great guy, great musician, and a friend of the show. And tonight we have Colossal Street Jam. We have Gene Potts and Sal Marra, who are good enough to join us tonight. I wonder if we could squeeze it all into one show because they have amazing stuff going on. They're a fantastic band. And Scott, if you could slide them in right now.
What's happening?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. Good to be with you.
Oh, absolutely. We are so happy to have you guys on the show. And what's really cool about this, as our Guitar Tales community, it doesn't get bigger, it gets smaller. And I mean that because everyone knows everyone else in this great world of musicianship. We had Don Jamieson on last night, and you guys just saw him, or one of you just saw him at McSorley's.
He introduced us. He actually, at the Glenn Hughes show we did down at the Landis Theater last month, he actually introduced us before we went on, before Glenn Hughes, which was great. And then he, of course, introduced Glenn Hughes too. But, I mean, we felt pretty honored that he did. He was like, hey, you guys mind? I'm like, no.
Right.
And then 2 days later, I got to see Glenn Hughes again at the Palladium in Times Square, and Don was there as well. And then I got to see him last night, his comedy special at McSorley's, and it was awesome. He was great. He was fantastic.
And you were telling us sort of in the pre-interview phase, you were expecting him to be good, if not better, but he turned out to be just straight up great.
Oh yeah, it was a great show. I knew it was going to be funny, but the show was long, and he just kept going, and he had the place in stitches. It was amazing.
That's great, and that's a show where he had to bring it.
Without a doubt.
He was recording that show. I mean, that's an album he's creating from last night's show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you'll see my big fat head on the.
Oh, that's great. That's good stuff. And I won't do it now, but I could probably name 10 people we've had on the show, and they're probably friends with you guys.
Yep.
Because they could be people from this country, from other countries, from the East Coast, from the West Coast. But the Guitar Tales world keeps shrinking in this really nice way. And
that's the one real good thing about what's going on with with all the technology is that, I'm connecting to some of my like idols.
Yeah.
They respond to you, you think, oh, they're not going to respond. And they respond to you, and it makes, like you said, it's really a smaller world now. I might actually meet Jimmy Page one day, like I've been wanting to for the past 4 months.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
Hey, I already got to meet Mark Warner. I already got to meet my idol, so just by playing music.
Wow, that's amazing. That really is. Of all the shows we've done, I want to meet Pete Townsend. Yeah, I had someone who allegedly went to his house and got him to sign a T-shirt for me, and she and I don't chat anymore. So,
you lost your T-shirt.
I never got my T-shirt. I don't know if it was a true story or not, but I was told that. But of all the shows we've done, I was nervous for the Steve Conti show because he went to high school with Scott and I. I was completely intimidated.
So you guys are Madawan.
We're Madawan guys.
I trained 5 years with his mother.
Did you really?
I trained
Rosemary, right?
For almost 5 years. Yeah.
She's a singer, right?
Yep. Jazz singer. Amazing
singer, really good.
Amazing jazz singer. Yeah. But I started when I was 13.
I think, but I don't know. I think in high school I was in a very large jam with John, not with him, but he sort of was there. So I could sort of say that, I'm a shitty guitar player. They're just consummate musicians, that whole family.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're amazing, all of them.
And I was completely intimidated, and he was as nice as could be.
Nicest guy. Yeah.
And we had a really great interview, so it was a lot of fun. So that's what I mean. Like we could name 10 others, but let's talk about you guys.
Okay.
So let's all right, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. All right. I want you to jointly come up with the top 5 coolest things that are going on with Colossal Street Jam right now.
Go ahead, Gene. You fire first.
All right. For the first time in our lives, we actually have a record deal.
Congratulations.
Whatever that means at this point as a record deal, but we have an indie deal with a company called Fret Bar Records out of Nashville. And they're re-releasing our single and our album November 3rd.
Wow.
We on our own March 1st, and the owner of the label fell in love with it through our publicity manager. And so that's number one. I think that's number one on the list for sure.
I love that. And you know what? The fact that you have people, right? That speaks volumes about the quality of the work you guys are doing, because no one attaches themselves to any kind of effort unless what the effort is something noteworthy and good and worthy of attachment, right?
Yeah. And I think really, we've been together, Sal and I have been together a long time, and Tony, our bass player as well. And then Eric and Dave joined us about 7-8 years ago. We put out a lot of music over the years. This is definitely by far, I'm sure we've said it about other stuff that we've done, but by far, this is the best thing we've ever done. I feel the best vocals, Sal's best songwriting and guitar playing, Eric's playing, Tony's playing. I mean, it just...
Everybody.
It's just really, we feel like we have songs, like really good songs that are radio friendly, but yet hold true to what we believe in as being an edgier kind of like 70s
rock. Yeah, like a rock, like a Grand Funk, Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, look, the 70s... I just sent an email to one of my kids, or a text. I don't know. Kids don't do email, but I said the best songwriting is the 70s.
Yeah.
Because
there was still a foot. It was the last piece of the late 50s, early 60s. It was still kind of running through the backbone of the music in the 70s. But they didn't. I think what happened, like half of the 80s tried to do it.
Yep.
Veered off. I think technology really kind of sent people like a dog to the left, and they lost a lot of what it means to go into a garage with a bunch of guys or girls.
Yep.
Create something. Hey, cut it out, you.
Hey, it's not my dog this time. It's always my dog.
Really?
It doesn't. Yeah, it's all part of the. We had a show. Is the guitar in here? Wait, hang on. I want to show you guys. No, it's in a different room. We had Scott. Who did we have on? We had Dave Gellis, I think. You guys know Dave?
I don't think so.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and and I'm conducting an interview, and shockingly, my dog is not barking, and I have my guitar on a stand right next to me, and he's being really quiet, but I could feel him down here, and I look, and 3 out of the 4 volume pots of my guitar are gone.
Oh man.
And he must have shot them out. He ate in the middle of a show, and I showed it to Dave, and we made a bit out of it, but it really happened. So dogs are all good.
And you can also loop back into Blood, Sweat, and Tears because Steve Conti and John Conti played in Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
I did not know that.
Yes, for a little while they did. Like with one
for a short period of time.
Wow, that's interesting stuff. And the world just gets smaller. So with you guys, a thought. We spent with young people and with people our age, which means young also, I suppose, talking about creativity. So 2 things I'm putting together for you guys that I really like is that, so you get your first record deal and best music you've ever put out. And I wonder if living life, getting your ass kicked by life, having beautiful things happen to you in life, but because it's your first record deal, you have the benefit of wisdom, the benefit of increasing skill. But here's the thing. You haven't gone soft. And when we see, I could throw out a non-hard rock person. I think Elton John's done in terms of
my God, are you kidding?
Yeah. It's like the really great stuff. I have 5 of his albums in my house, right? But in terms of putting out really good music, like Captain Fantastic level stuff. He's been done forever. You get a little soft. But for you guys, you keep getting better and better and better. But you haven't gotten soft because you didn't get soft from the career.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's a recipe for something truly amazing for that. That's like a perfect storm kind of thing.
It is. I hope so in that way, is that, the things that probably upset us when we were young aren't even in the picture anymore. And I think, and like you said, the creativity, we're starting to feel like dinosaurs these days, because, most music today is created in the studio.
Okay.
And, I honestly, I just, these guys going out with no amps on stage and going through these like Kemper machines and this, I'm thinking to myself, man, if I don't hear the wind hitting the back of my legs when I'm playing in front of my amp, it's not going to happen. There's an aura in rock and roll, and it starts with actual instruments and personalities in a room together or a stage together. It's there's a lot of great bands out there. I'm not going to say there isn't, but I think the mainstream is no longer allowing for these young bands to be encouraged to get in a garage together and work on songs, not record them with Pro Tools, go in a room and work them out. And we still do that. We're still 18 years old. Every time we get together with our instruments, the band, we're 18 years old again. And except we have the enthusiasm, but we have the wisdom and the patience.
Yeah. And the skill set. And you go, Gene.
Well, I was going to throw in there is that, as Sal said earlier, when we were younger, you're 18, you've got these delusions of grandeur where you want to be a rock star, you want to be on a major record label, you want to tour the world, you want to make money, you want the fame, the fortune. I think for us, for the last 8 years, we've done this for ourselves. That's the beauty of it, that we went in and said, let's write the best songs we can for ourselves, not necessarily for to be famous. I mean, we're writing albums and recording them on our own dime and putting them out on our own dime for us, and hoping that the people that follow us will continue to follow us, buy our records. It's not unless you're out playing shows, nobody's buying your records. They're buying something off of Spotify. You get 3 cents if you get that. Right. We really just did this all, and I don't know why I covered my mouth while I'm talking, but we did this for ourselves. And then this band became a family. The 5 of us, we do everything together. Sal had cancer. I had cancer. We stuck together. All of us fought together, not just, one guy, is off doing his own thing and the 4 of us are, still rehearsing. No, we stuck by each other and we just continued to work and work. And while Sal was sick, I was in the studio doing stuff, to get the record ready. When I was sick, the guys were still trying to push things forward. And that's the beauty of this band, is that we're doing it for us.
That is so huge. And there's no way that the authenticity of that effort won't shine through.
I think it's already the best. It's the best music we've ever done. I think it's the best vocals I've ever done. Yeah. And we have a great engineer. His name is Tony Lewis. He wouldn't let anything go. I must on say the song "No Way to Live," which is the single. On that song, I probably did those vocals 100 times, and he was just like, "Keep going. I know there's better in you." And I was like, "I think I got what I want." Nope, keep going. And we just kept driving forward.
It's like a football coach.
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough, but you know what? He's a great producer, and it's why our album is what it is, and he's a big part of it.
Yeah. Wow. Now let's talk about the songwriting process. Does one person do the lyrics and someone else?
It ends up happening this. I a lot of times I'll just come up with some ideas for songs. I never finish them. I've never been the guy who wants to come in and say these are my songs. No, because the thing is, if everyone doesn't have a footprint or a handprint in the song, they're not going to do great on it. I really believe that, and because we're older, listen, it needs to be that way. So a lot of times I'll come in with an idea, but I'll get to a point and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave it here. I want to see what Gene will do to it. I want to see what Eric's going to do to it. And very few, I think there's probably under 5 songs in the whole time we've been together that actually came in with songs that were almost complete. I was never that person. I mean, I probably could, but I don't feel that you can really get the best out of an ensemble without allowing them to each put something in there. And we're really good at that. That's why I feel we'll never run out of material. This band will never run. I have drawers full of riffs and just, oh, this would be a great chorus somewhere, and then I just put it away. And bringing it into the guys, I think we're getting to that point again where I think we're going to have to start writing again, because the drawers I'm having a hard time closing the drawer now because of all the excitement of what's going on. I'm literally writing a riff every other day, and they're almost becoming ideas for songs within a day or two. And I'm like, all right, do I take it and run now, or do I hold it back? You know, I keep hearing Prince in the back saying, no, you got to get it down because there's another song tomorrow and then another one on Wednesday. And, you know, I understand that part of it to kind of, you know, work it. But the process with this band, really, most of the time I'll just throw something in, and by the time the band grabs it, like a bunch of hyenas tearing at it, it becomes Colossal Street Jam. And it's worked up till now. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, Sal, he brings in the riffs, and they're always great. And then we just build off it. And he's got, like he said, he's got tons of them. There's always something new. And it's exciting. I mean, for everybody to have their own part. And Sal writes lyrics too, writes great lyrics, write great melodies. And that's a big thing for me too, is that he hands me some stuff and says, this is what I hear. And then I base what I think.
Exactly.
And then, you know, there's songs that he comes in and he'll have like 2 lines written and say, this is what I feel. And then we write around it. Or I have a song written, and, you know, some lyrics that I'll write. So it's great. And then we have great arrangers in the band. When you have a guy like Dave Halpern, who's been a session player forever, he's a great drummer, one of the best. And he just comes in and we just arrange together. It's really great.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And, you know, I like the fact that it's egalitarian. You know, I think that has to do a lot for every aspect of what you guys do. And I'm trying to think. I think it might have been Genesis always shared songwriting credits with each other. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. Am I right? It was Genesis. They
did. U2 still does it.
Oh, U2 does.
Van Halen did it up until Diver Down.
Oh, really?
And then David Lee Roth turned to the Van Halen brothers and said, you know, Michael doesn't really come up with a lot. We should be giving him publishing. And, you know, you can see how Michael Anthony's the coolest guy. He's so laid back.
He's the best person in the band.
He really is. And they approached him. You know what he said? Whatever. I was reading the book. He lost between Diver Down and the end of '84 album and tour. He probably lost anywhere from $25 to $30 million of a cut that they ended up splitting. And when Sammy joined, he got it back because Sammy said, no. Because in Montrose, when he was back there with Ronnie Montrose, they split everything. Even though on the album it might say, you know, Montrose this or Hagar, they split publishing 4 ways.
I like that.
You got to listen. At this point in our lives, we've already worked a lifetime. So I couldn't imagine one of us sitting home in a giant house while the other guys are living in little 1-bedroom. You know what I'm saying? It's just
and what are we doing it for, right? What are we doing in any profession? You know, I'm a lawyer by day. You know, that's what I do. And I love the people I litigate against. I love the people I litigate with. I love the people I work with. And if you have an environment that's internally competitive, what are you doing it for? Where's the joy? You know?
Then you're at each other's throats all the time. And what's that? What are you doing? You're not going to make great music. You're not going to
make great music. And you will disincentivize people to kind of give it their best. Hey, this is my song. It's mine. I don't like what you're doing on bass. Well, if it's our song, we all lift each other. You know, a rising tide raises all ships, as they say.
Yep.
So I like that a lot.
It has to be that way. I've only known it that way. I mean, since I started playing guitar at 14, but by the time I was about 15, I was already carrying my little PV amp and my little Stratocaster to friends' houses that were a couple years older than me, and they broke me in. You know,
what kind of PV?
Huh?
What kind of PV?
I had the PV. It was oh god, what was the name of it? It was small. It was a little. It was a
110.
A 110, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was nasty. it wasn't until I finally got a tube when I was like 16. I go, oh my God, listen to the difference in the tube amp, And then from that point on, it's been tubes, obviously. But some of the older solid states were actually pretty good.
There were some cool ones.
Yeah,
I had
was loud.
The PVs were great. I had a Sun 50-watt solid state, and I upgraded the speaker to either an Eminence or an EV. And I'm not really a gig guy, but I did once play at an outdoor festival in front of like 1,000 people, and we couldn't mic my amp because it was just so loud. We went without a mic. My little 50, yeah.
You're going into bad territory there.
Yeah,
I'm like, they're like, oh, you could turn a guitar down. I'm thinking to myself, Hendrix would lose. His body be flipping right now if he's like, this poor guitar player is getting told to turn down with a 40-watt Fender 112. It's just, it cracks me up. I'm like, oh, it must have been so loud sitting in the first 5 rows listening to Jimi Hendrix live.
Oh, can you even imagine?
Must have been unbelievable. It literally must have been like standing at the airport in front of a small plane, and it's just charging its engines. It had to feel that way because the sheer volume of his playing it's just unbelievable, man.
Was he? I forget. When in the studio, was he Marshall or Sun? I thought he was Sun.
He used Sun on some stuff. I think on Axis, Boldest Love, he used Sun. And then he actually used some combo amps on a few songs. I think Burning of the Midnight Lamp, I think he played on like a Twin. And he put like a flange on or so. Yeah, he was just doing, but he moved around a little bit. I know live it was always Marshalls. I mean,
right.
He would just, it's so funny. Look at some of those clips, and he's got 3 full 2 stacks on one side, and it's not like the guys today. Half of them are empty. They go out and mic 2 of them on the other. These were full. These were working, and imagine the poor sound guys. Then they didn't have any equipment to compress anything.
No, and he got his feedback from the volume. And having the guitar face the speakers to let the air push the strings, and I can create that.
Yeah, man. That's why I have to have that feeling. I have to be able to turn my guitar and feel the guitar changing because of the position in front of the amplifier.
Yeah. Now, what's your main guitar? What's your amp? What do you use?
The amp, my main guitar, I like to play around, but my main guitar is my 76 Blonde Deluxe Les Paul that I've had now for 38 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought it when I was 15.
Holy shit.
When I was 15, so I've had it almost 40 years now.
Wait a minute. What 15-year-old could afford a Les Paul? What's the story behind that?
2 paper routes, and I did whatever I could to make money. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I bought it.
That's impressive.
And I've still got it. And I got to tell you, this thing weighs, I think it's about 11 pounds. The wood is so amazing on this guitar. And, everyone's like, oh, the new Les Pauls. I'm like, dudes, the new Les Pauls are like pressed board. This thing, the wood on this guitar, on this body is well over 100 years old, no doubt. Because nothing that dense is young.
That's right.
It's really dense wood, and I changed the pickups. I think when I bought it, it had the DiMarzio, what was the one Ace Frehley, Super Humbuckers or the Super Distortion? It had those on it. I was like, and I played for a little while, and then I ended up going over to the regular humbuckers. I don't know which one I put in at that time, but that's my main guitar. But I love my SG as well, and I love my Stratocaster with humbuckers in it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I never played it when it had the single coils. It sat in my house, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I do something that's going to make me play this thing?
That makes sense. Yeah, right. You like that? It bucks the hum.
Now the Strat sounds like a nasty SG because
but it plays like a Strat.
Yeah, but it plays like a Strat, and the slide sounds killer on it.
Right.
The slide, because I use metal slide, it just sounds so piercing. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is great. And it's light. It's probably more than half lighter than my Les Paul. My Les Paul is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Scott's chiming in. Slide is a lost art.
Sal's one of the best slide players around.
I'm a regular tuning. I don't fuss with tunings like some guys play open G. Listen, I want the whole fretboard's got to be my playground. And I don't want any, I want to know that if I blindly just put my hand somewhere, I'm going to find the path in there that's going to work and sound good. So playing slide, yeah, there's some things I can't reproduce. A lot of Dwayne Allman's things, because he would definitely change his tuning. You can't get the little grasp on some of the songs, like some of his licks in Statesboro live. You're not going to get without changing the tune of the guitar. Same as Can't You Hear Me Knocking by the Stones. Without tuning the guitar.
Keith never had regular tuning, right?
And then he would cut strings off. He'd be like,
he would play with 5 strings.
It's open G, and I cut the low E off. I'm like, I guess it works, because you go back and listen to those records, and that sound on the beginning of Can't You Hear Me Knocking is just epic. And it's probably nothing except him playing through a twin and just cranking it. And oh man, it's just I'm good at imitating it, and you'll think that I'm playing it right, but it doesn't have the tone.
Yeah, no one plays him quite right. And what is your amp of choice these days?
I'm either using, on a lot of the smaller places we play, my 20-watt 112 Blues Junior in the real small places, which sounds phenomenal. Oh my god, and nice. And then and then in medium places I'll go to the 40-watt 112, and then if I feel like getting yelled at, I'll bring out the 60-watt 212 combo amp. That one's really loud.
Now, who's the maker of these amps? Are they Fender?
Fender. Yeah.
You're all Fender
for now, but I'm actually now. I started out with cabinets and heads and Marshalls and all that 30 years ago. But of course, as you start gigging more than 180 times a year, you start to realize that you don't have a road crew, you don't have a box truck to carry everything, so your equipment gets smaller and smaller as you get more gigs. We played with Glenn Hughes. He had Soren, great guitar player, Soren Anderson, that plays with Glenn Hughes. He had 412 cabinets.
Wow.
And here I am with a 40-watt Tweed 112 in front of it. And I do my show, but I'm standing in front of his Marshall. So, if you're in the back, you'd think I'm playing through the Marshalls. So
I love it. I love it.
We finished the show. The guy comes up to the stage and grabs my arm and he goes, "That's really cool. You guys are sharing the amp, the Marshalls?" And I go, "Nah, man." He goes, "No." I go, "Yeah, that was that." Because I don't use a lot of effects either.
You're a purist. I like that.
I like to crank the amp. I like to get the guitar in the amp. And then I'll have my Phase 90 if I'm in a Robin Trower mood or a Hendrix mood. Or I'll hit the wah-wah if I want to get like that Michael Schenker, like that really nasty caddy sound. You hit the wah-wah and leave it down at the 80%. And I'll do that, and I have a one of those what the hell's that pedal? I bought one about 6 months ago.
Not a crybaby. You don't mean the simple.
No, not a wah-wah. It's a fuzz. What's it? The Centaur. The Centaur. Remember about the early '90s? The guys in Radiohead were using them.
Okay.
They're about, I don't know. They're probably the size of a wah-wah pedal. Anyway, a friend of mine has an original one. He goes, "Try this," and I tried it. It's got just 3 knobs on it.
Okay.
I leave the tone at 50, the output at 50, and I put the distortion, the drive on maybe 20%, 25%.
Okay. So it just dirties it up a little bit.
Yeah, right? But it's the clarity of the low notes that this pedal does. So you find yourself leaving the pedal on a lot and turning your guitar volume down and getting the guitar to sound like you're playing through a clean amplifier, but yet turning your volume to 10 gives it like that fog hat, like that real nasty.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is good. And people are like, "Dude, it sounds so loud." I'm like, the more pedals you hit, the thinner your guitar sounds.
You're compressing everything.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's terrible. And a lot of guys do it. And, guy said to me, "God, what would you do with all those amps?" I was like, "Probably get fired." I said, because, you ain't compressing me. The worst thing a sound guy can say to me is, "Hey, man, I'll handle it in the mix." I'm like, no. Tell you what, don't put me in the PA. How does that sound?
Yeah, you're living your own life. Right?
I'm going to do it. I'd rather the people get my amp sound than a guy who's trying to do it through listening. It's not going to work that way.
No, and it's not you. At that point, it's not you.
It's not me. And I'm not going to be at someone else's mercy ever.
Well, what's really good, we're playing venues now. We've been playing venues now that Sal could play however he wants. And we've got top-notch sound guys, dealing with that. Like the Landis Theater.
And they know Sal.
they loved it, though. The guy at the Landis goes, "Dude, you guys, that's a great sound you guys got, and you have minimal gear. You have, I mean," he's like, "I'm looking at you guys."
Except for Eric.
Well, Eric's got the 38 Hammond with the Leslie speakers and things.
Oh, you guys play out with a Leslie?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at
it's
that.
an art to watch him load the thing up and get it on stage. It's incredible. Like
it's $1 million, right?
It is. He flips it, like puts a blanket down, flips it on top of a case, then slides it over the stage, flips it back. I'm like, bro, this is amazing. This is like,
you should see how many he has. He fixes them. He has
really?
a Hammond shop in his house.
He has a Hammond shop.
In his house, in his barn. He built a barn, and he has a Hammond shop. He's probably got what? What do you think, Sal? 8 or 10 of them in there?
8 or 10, and what he just buys them. People don't know what they got. They're like, it doesn't work. He's like, okay, no problem. Buys them.
So the Hammonds or the Leslies he buys?
Both.
Or
Both.
Really?
Both of the original synthesizers that were built in the late 30s. Get this.
Wow.
He's got 2 keyboards. One's 1938. It's a primitive synthesizer. It's unbelievable. I go, bro. Nobody probably has. He goes, they don't. He goes, if I can find a few more parts and get this working, it's probably worth a museum. Will probably like a piano museum will probably give me $50,000 for it because there probably aren't any.
Wow.
You know? And he's like, yeah, he's really. We've got some great stories about him fixing Steve Winwood's keyboard.
Really?
Yeah, he was playing at the Count Basie Theater, and the staff at the Count Basie knew that Eric knew how to work on Hammond, so. Here comes Steve Winwood into town. This is probably 10 years. It's got to be at least 10 years ago. And they call him, and they're like, Eric, listen, we need you over here. The Hammond's down, and you're the only one that really could probably even get through it. So he shows up like the doctor with the little box with him.
Right. House call.
He said he goes under, and he feels a tap on his shoulder. He turns around, so he's like, hey. And the guy goes, I'm Steve Winwood. He goes, oh, yeah. Like his head was.
He doesn't care.
And he goes, Steve's like, you think you could fix it? He goes, I think so. He goes, I got a couple spare motors with me, and that's probably what it is. So half an hour passes, and Eric fixes it. And Steve goes, what do I owe you? And Steve's like, Eric's like, you're Steve Winwood. What do you mean, what do you owe me? So I think Steve gave him like 4 VIP passes for the night, probably put a few $100 in the envelope, but also gave him his card and said, listen, when I travel the U.S., I don't know anybody that can fix these. I mean, if Eric wanted to pursue that, he'd probably be a millionaire. Oh, yeah, because think of all the people that travel with the Hammonds now. All your jam bands all have Hammond organs. And, they don't take well to banging around either. He's always
nor does the Leslie cabinet, I'm sure.
Right.
You got that motor doing its thing,
It's crazy.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I tell you, Eric's amazing. He's got a 1938 Hammond, but he also put a MIDI face in it. So he'll be playing Hammond, and all of a sudden you hear a Wurlitzer or a clavinet, and you're like, where did that come from?
Oh,
he's got a computer screen on the right hand side.
It's completely MIDI, so he can run. Don Airy freaked out. Again, they opened up for his band that he was in before us. He opened up for Deep Purple, and Don Airy went over and said, whoa, what do you got going on over here? And Eric showed him, and he's like, dude, I've never seen this.
That's insane.
Yeah, with a screen on it that has all piano settings and I mean, it's amazing. He sounds like a Fender Rhodes right there out of the Hammond. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, Glenn Hughes' band. When we opened up for them about a month ago, that whole band except for Glenn came over and they were just all over.
They're like, what is?
So we were talking about Soren Anderson, the guitar player.
He's awesome.
He's great. He really is awesome. What a great guitar player. But a super nice guy. I got to hang out with him a couple days after as well. But he came over and he was just having Eric like show him everything. People are amazed by it. It's something that you've never seen before. That's
And it's blue sparkle. Yeah. And it's blue sparkle, which is
really?
Yeah, and he's got a goat. He's got a goat inside the spin of the Leslie with a blue light. There's a little goat in there that flies around the thing. People love it.
That's hysterical.
And he turns it when he's playing and he gets going and he's soloing. He'll turn that thing. He'll turn that thing on its side.
Oh yeah, he Keith Emerson's a lot where he leans it way forward and. Oh yeah.
Because it's so subtle because anything you do to the trajectory of the sound coming out of the twirling speaker will impact upon what the audience and you will hear. Yeah, that's amazing.
John Lord did that all the time. He would crank his Leslies through Marshalls, and then he would bang that keyboard down, and you'd hear oh my God, it was like a whole other instrument.
Wow.
Amazing.
And it's such a world beyond modeling and MIDI and all that. Like I love that he incorporates MIDI, but I mean the quantity. I mean, you need a physicist in here to help us figure it out. But the
Oh yeah,
quantity of variations, if you've got your Leslie cabinet like this, and you do that,
oh yeah, it's a whole nother sound.
it's a whole nother sound, and you've probably changed 500,000 variables
Yeah,
because the way the sound will be pushed out of a moving speaker, and if you go 3 degrees over, I can't even imagine.
I
And he
know.
has,
I never got to see the real Wizards. I never got to see Keith Emerson, which breaks my heart because I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer songs, and I love just the approach. I mean, it's just he
yeah.
must have been unbelievable to see it in concert. In the heyday, the mid-'70s, when those guys were
Oh,
they were
yeah.
soccer stadiums with 3
Tapes
guys.
and everything.
But yeah, I know. And you see all the wires. You know what?
Yeah.
And he always had a bottle of like wine or champagne on his Hammond. And I'm thinking, with all these knobs, you're like, it looks like he's like a naval ship operator, like in
Yeah.
there, and all these sounds coming out, and you're like, it's just like you said, it's part of the show too, to watch
Yeah.
this guy inside of a cubicle of keyboards, and you
It's
see an arm
insane.
coming up
Yeah.
and moving plugs, and you're like, wow, how did they do this? And the PA systems then were good, but they weren't like, they didn't have innies in their ear. They didn't have any of that stuff back then. How, I don't know how you depend on a stage monitor in a
Right. Yeah.
stadium. I mean, think about the delay when you go to a concert.
Oh, yeah.
How
It's
does
unbelievable.
Keith walks 50 yards out? There's got to be a delay on the. There's got to be a.
Well, there has to be a delay. And how do you figure out the right sound? Because what you're hearing is not approximating what your audience is hearing
No.
with a primitive monitor system. But that's amazing.
Well, now with the they're getting it all exactly as they're hearing it. But how did they do it? You look at the Still Life tour when those guys went out in '81. The stage setup was enormous. The sides went out like 75 yards around, and you're like, "There's no way that Charlie's drums were bouncing. There's no way."
Yeah.
And you listen to those live recordings, and God damn it, they sound great. The band.
They do. And that's why every so often, either through Sirius or I'll just have Apple Music do it. I'll just put on a 70s station and just, and it will it will shock me because there'll be those songs we know, but we forgot we knew.
Oh yeah. And I do that all the time.
And it's the quality of the lyrics. It's the quality of the vocals. And what also strikes me is the quality of the recordings.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We can have this sort of 2023 ivory tower attitude. Well, we have digital this and digital. Right now I'm looking at a digital camera. I'm, talking into the mic, and I've got the laptop and all that shit in front of me. But whatever they did in those studios coming out of, the instruments and the Leslies and the Hammonds, tight drums, gorgeous guitar sounds, great vocals, great harmonies. And there was such an appreciation for the craft of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the other strange thing, most people consume their music through this shitty speaker.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Think about the big ones we had when we were kids. I mean, I had these giant speakers in my. I'm thinking about. You know what? That's why we play the way we play, because I had the chance to do that. And the other thing with that 70s music, especially bands like Steely Dan, how they were able to get the clarity of their recordings for 1975 is unbelievable. Yep. Another album is Al Stewart's Year of the Cat album, is so crystal clear. It's Alan Parsons, of course, who's behind that. But you hear it and you're like, you know what? This sounds like it was recorded digitally, and this is all analog. Yeah.
It's like digital with warmth, which is the amazing thing.
That's why I hope to God we get a little bit of success where we can build our own analog studio, because
how great would that be?
Well, I'm a fan of it. Look, that's what Dave Grohl's doing now. He bought that last, what was it, a Neve system? He bought the last remaining working board. There's only 4 in the world. I believe Joey DeMaio has one at Shorefire in Long Branch, New Jersey. There's only about 4 or 5 of them left, and he got his from Phil Collins. He had one, but these boards, the separation on 2-inch reel is, like you said, it's almost a warm digital.
Because it's going to bleed just enough.
Into
just
each other.
enough.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what people don't get. They didn't know that if David Gilmour had a half-empty beer on the cabinet when they were recording his guitar part. That rattling made something sound different. And that's what people don't get. Digital, you're losing all the grace breath in the music. There's things going on. Could be a guy's keychain sitting on the table next to the board. Could be anything that's influencing that sound to be a little bit different. And you don't get that anymore.
No. And the other thing that I think we've talked about on the show too, I think we talked about it with Conti, is that to me anyway, we need air. We need the atmosphere involved. You need a speaker pushing air, and then the microphone picking up the air that is pushed.
That's right.
Because things happen that I don't understand, but things happen when the sound finds it, or your vocals find it. They go into the microphone, out of a PA, and then into a mic if that's the way you're recording.
Right.
And then it travels through the air, and it just sort of does a little something.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you know what? No, I'm happy I'm old enough where I do remember recording my original music on 2-inch reel, and I go back and listen to some of these cassettes. I go back and listen, and I go, you know what? Separation ain't there digitally. It's just not. And it's like you said, it's not the separation mainly. It's what's encapsulated in each of those frequencies that are coming out on that tape. Because, a good example is Floyd, the Metal album. They had just the ARP synthesizers had just come out. Townsend had got the first one, which has all the stuff like in Bab O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again. He's doing in his little foyer in his house with this little thing, and I actually got a chance to
ELPI Studios, right?
Yeah. He recorded everything at home. And I heard the copies. I met Entwistle years ago when I was young, and my manager at the time was doing this K-Rock blood drive where he was playing with Rat Race Choir from Long Island. So I got to spend a whole weekend down in Wall Township hanging out while they were rehearsing the show for I think it was K-Rock or one of those.
With the Ox was in Wall Township?
With the Ox. And I got to ask him all the things that I spent my whole life imagining, listening to Live at Leeds, saying, man, and what he told me, which was amazing, was that they were blown away when Pete showed up with what was supposed to be Lifehouse, but ended up being picked apart and became Who's Next, which is almost a perfect album. But it came from 42 songs that were part. He had a nervous breakdown after Tommy, and he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't. They are releasing more of that Lifehouse project.
How about Leslie West jamming with them on Love Ain't for Keeping? There's versions of that. They also
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, and Baby Don't You Do It, Marvin Gaye, that the band made big. They do a version of it with Keith Moon playing it's hilarious. It's actually funny.
I thought I knew everything Who, but I guess not.
Oh no. Leslie was recording in the same studio, and Townsend loved Mountain, so he was like, come on in, we'll jam, and they jammed. They got some stuff, but then he played him some of the rough mixes. And there's takes of Won't Get Fooled Again with Leslie playing with him.
Really?
Yeah, Love Ain't for Keeping, where Townsend's playing the acoustic and Leslie's playing his little Les Paul Jr. like clean through like really.
Oh,
cool.
I'm gonna go listen to that.
Yeah, go listen to Baby Don't You Do It, because I'm telling you, Keith Moon's drumming is hilarious. It's actually funny. He lands right on, but I can sense the nervousness of the musicians in the room, wondering if he's gonna land on one. Because so erratic, but he always did. He landed on.
And they say that for Quadrophenia, Kenny Jones played much of that album because Keith was too drunk.
And he also could not, they were trying to do tape machines live. If you ever watch clips, he's got his head duct taped. He's got the headphones, and they wrap the duct tape around Keith Moon's head. And he's trying to follow a click because they're running the symphony tapes for Quadrophenia. They're running the synthesizers, but they got to run to a click. And Moon ain't playing to a click. I don't care if he hasn't drank. It's not it's not his style. So there's some pretty out there. If you really search YouTube, there's some real testing moments for the Who when you listen to the Quadrophenia tour, them trying to do tapes.
I got to sneak in something here. Right. Dave, you need a whole other show of Sal's time with Leslie West.
Oh my God.
Sal got to play and record with Leslie West. You need a whole other show about that.
You recorded with him too?
I was about 19 years old. Again, my manager knew him because he was always hanging out at Kramer Guitars. She was the PR person for Kramer, and we were my band at the time. We needed someone to help us, get a demo together. And Leslie's like, you know what? Just Karen, give me $500. Tell the guys to come up to Austin, New York, because he had a studio. They converted a farm into a studio.
Okay.
And we went up there and we spent a weekend with him. And I got to tell you, for a 19-year-old kid, and it was we had a great time. He was really a tough character because he's very abrasive when he talks. So, I come from an Italian family, so loud voices don't, I don't even flinch. I'm like, whatever. So he got a little nasty. And our drummer at the time, who was actually with Gene, he was our drummer for a while in Colossal. He doesn't take crap from anybody, still to this day. And he turned to Leslie was like, to George, he goes, why don't you go in the other room while the musicians work on the arrangement? And my drummer was like, really? He goes, how does it feel to be a has-been? Right in his face. I go, oh my God, I'm going to get beat up by Leslie West. But
my God.
It ended up being a great weekend. He did a great job with us. We did a version of The Stealer by Free on the demo. And then coincidentally, his next solo album, he does The Stealer on his CD.
No.
Oh, really? I'm like, that's great, Leslie. You know what? And I have some great, one day we'll have to talk. We had a wonderful time with him. Then he took us out to a show, and that weekend it was up in Poughkeepsie. I think the Chance was then. I don't know if it was the Chance then. It might have been another, but it was where the Chance is or was. I forgot who we saw. And Leslie's a rock. He's always been a rock star up there too in upstate New York. So we were at the table, and girls are coming over, and Leslie, sign my thigh, and all this stuff. And he's got like this, he's like, get out of here. I'm like, holy crap, man. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm like, wow.
Wait. So by the way, you said something. You said two things, 19 and my manager. How the hell did you have a manager when you were 19 years old?
Well, a really funny story. I'll make it quick. The singer in my band at the time's father owned an art gallery in Marlboro. And his Kramer wanted to do an ad that was showing art with one of their new Kramer guitars. So they asked Marty if they could do it.
Wait, hold on. So 19, you're talking about the split neck Kramers, right?
Yes. Yeah. No.
The later ones.
It was the later ones. It was about 80. I would say this was around 85, late 85.
Okay,
86.
so keep going. All right.
So they were big. Kramer was, because Eddie was already affiliated with them.
Well, that we had the great Henry Vaccaro on our show.
Ah, Henry. So Henry, because the Berardis and Henry and the Vaccaros, they were the starters of Kramer guitars. So,
I know. And by the way, I used to own a Kramer guitar.
Me too.
So, we won. With the split neck.
We won a national Pepsi Kramer guitar national band unsigned band contest. And to NAMM in 86, 87.
Okay, so now you're on the new ones, the newer ones.
Opened up at the Kramer Guitar Show, which was the biggest show at that time. Because you had of course, Eddie was there. I got to meet all my idols in one night. And we got to play in front of, I got to hang out with Elliot Easton, Les Paul, John Entwistle, the guys in Autograph, the guys in Night Ranger.
Scott's favorite.
I was losing I think I was 20 at this time. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is supposed to be my life then. This is it. I'm going to, and I think about it now and I'm like, man, if I had that chance now, I'd be blowing the doors open, like I was a little punk. But whatever it was, we got to go out there, and that's how I was able to meet so many people and do some work with some really cool, guys that were already famous that had a lot of experience, and they were able to really kind of guide us through at a young age. So I got a little taste at a really young age, and then I didn't, which they say, is it good or is it not? Well, the good thing is I realized all these people that were famous were just normal people. Even though I was shell-shocked, I saw, to see Les Paul and to see Eddie Van Halen sneaking up behind him and poking him in the back like a kid. Like Eddie's acting like a kid to Les Paul. And I'm thinking, wow, incredible. There's Eddie's, he's the master. And I'm like, no. To Eddie, Les Paul's the mentor.
Paul. Yep.
Eddie's the student. And I'm like, oh my, and I'm picking this up. I'm seeing the way they're tickling and playing with each other. And it was like a father-son thing. And I'm like,
yeah,
incredible. So it kind of hit me hard when all of a sudden that was gone. And, you know, we ended up having a falling out with our manager and the band ended up splitting up. And, you know, then I met Gene. That was about 89. And then we started Colossal back in 89.
right.
But I had lost all contact with all those people. And, you know, then we back on the road grinding again. But
yeah, but you know what the great thing is, what I could tell, you two guys, and I'm pointing at my computer screen right now, you're two happy people.
we are.
I mean, it just, you exude happiness, you exude positivity. So your journey has created happiness.
It has.
Yeah. We're like a married couple. Sal and I, you know, we butt heads, but the reason why we are where we are, you know, and I'm not excluding the other guys, of course, but we are where we are probably because of the way that we have to interact with each other. And it's, you know, we end up thinking the same way. We may not start that way, but we always end up with the same goal. Yeah. And I think that's pushed the band forward as well. And we do butt heads, you know, and but you have to, because we care about what we're doing. Yeah, we care so much. And, you know, you can't always take one person's point of view. I'm always the mouthpiece. You know, I've been since we started. And, but, you know, I bounce things off of everybody and everybody's opinion. And Sal's the guy I usually go to first because I play a lot more with him because we do spend a lot of time together.
We play so much. We are together. I am with Gene, honestly. We are both with each other. Definitely more than our wives. I
that's hysterical.
Well, we do almost 200 gigs a year together because we also, not only our original band, but we also, when we're not doing that, we play in our little cover thing. And we actually
do like a 2-man show. Do you ever do
No. We have an acoustic.
We will do a duo. We could do a duo or trio, but for the most part, it's a trio. But we will go out with a 4 or 5 piece electric band and just play. And it's all the stuff that we love. Grandpa,
all the great 70s.
Zeppelin, you know, and that also helps us with, you know, being tighter and going forward with Colossal and also writing because we're playing those type of songs that we love and we can incorporate it into the original stuff.
And we're conditioned because, you know, Gene and I, it's actually very common for us to sing 4 and 5 nights a week for 5-6 weeks in a stretch. And I'm not talking an hour a night, 2.5, 3 hours a night playing guitar and singing. But I realize now if we had to go on the road and people are like, oh, you know, they're big sob stories. Oh, you know what it's like on the road? I'm thinking to myself, man, we get up every day and work and still do 180, 200 gigs a year. Actually, Gene does even more. He's in the 220, 230s. But when you think about doing that many gigs, it's the conditioning that we've put ourselves through where I know if someone said, guys, I need an hour and a half a night, 5 nights a week for 3 months, me and him could do that even if we were sick.
You could do it in your sleep, right?
Yeah, we're conditioned. We're definitely,
and we have enough of our own original music now. We could play. We could probably do a 2-hour set with just our own music.
Not even. I mean, we're playing 3-hour sets 4 nights in a row sometimes, and you know, like, you know, how do you do it? I'm like, you know what? You just do it. It's you know, people say
that's the most common answer that I give is you just do it. You
just do it. I'm not trying to prove anything. I can tell you this though. When the band's playing after 2.5 hours, this is why bands in the old days played 3.5, 4 hours. That last hour, you are as warm as you're gonna be as a musician, and the chemistry is almost immediate when you're doing things when you're playing that long together. Because now you've also figured out the stage sound with each other, and you're able to really. There's so much going on. I understand why these bands played long sets, like 3 hours, because it takes a while. We have a hard time. Sometimes it takes a half an hour in a small club to get our ears adjusted to the sound and then feel like you're inside of the sound. Well, imagine, you know, it's Madison Square Garden. It's got to take an hour and a half to really get your head in the right spot. I mean,
and like for performance too.
I'd like to test out that theory.
Oh, me too. You know what? I want to be the first of us to fall off the stage at the
Well, our drummer's already played Madison Square Garden, so he's
really
ahead of us. Yeah.
Who did he play with?
He played with Williams Honor when they opened up for Bon Jovi.
But yeah, he gave him a little slot to play, so they called Dave, and Dave's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he took.
You're not saying no to that.
Him
Yeah.
sitting on the
play
drum set,
drums.
he took a great picture of the garden, from behind the drum set. He's like, I can't believe I'm getting this picture right now. Like, all the shows that he saw there from Kiss when he was 15 to,
wow.
And it was really cool. I was really happy for all of them. That's a great feat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll probably knock me out because I always mention this, but he played on the last Bee Gees record.
He did.
Did he really?
He played in the session for the last Bee Gees record. He's got a platinum record on his wall.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. There's
some good guys in this band, man. This is a good quality band. I mean,
but it's funny because it's rock and roll.
Myself.
Yeah, it's rock and roll.
When I look at the band, I just see, a band that I've always wanted to be in, and I'm happy I'm here,
So as is the case with not only all of our shows on some level, but some of the best shows, which I would put tonight in, feels like we've been chatting for 5 minutes. We're pushing an hour. We are pushing an hour. And everyone says that because it's just people sitting around talking about rock and roll, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's never boring.
No, it never is. No. So as we're wrapping up right now, let's talk about, first, digitally speaking, where can people find you guys?
Go ahead, Gene.
We're on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, everything. Anything that's out there, we're on it.
Yeah.
As far as hard copy, you want to get a vinyl. We have our record on vinyl, CDs, T-shirts. That's mostly at the shows. We're doing that right now. And the record, as we stated earlier, will be re-released on November 3rd, the single No Way to Live.
That's exciting.
And that's going to be through Sweat Bar Records. And then we signed with Jimmy Warren Entertainment Group out of Chicago. And I was hoping to announce the booking agency that we will be with, but I won't have that until the end of the week. But they have some major acts, which is going to make it very easy for us to be able to get on the road.
Okay. Last question. So, for the lazy people who won't want to go online, just talk to us about where can people physically find you, not digitally, because we're going old school now. Where can they find you? Where are some of your next gigs coming up?
Colossal right now has nothing in the books. And that being because we just signed. We cleaned the slate. Right. We just cleaned the slate of everything. Yeah. November, we're supposed to go out to St. Louis to kind of celebrate the signing of this the deal.
Okay.
And then December, there'll be 3 or 4 shows starting, one in the local area, we're hoping. But then when 2024 comes, we're going to be opening for some national acts throughout, a couple states here and there. So,
that is so. So the answer is stay tuned, and Scott, if you could put the URL or the little gridish thing. There we go. So go on that. Scott's laughing at me. So the bottom line is, by the time you're watching this, you'll be able to figure out where these guys are playing. I got to tell you, this was one of those shows. Where we say it all every so often we get a show, we can go 3-4 hours. We're a 1-hour show. You guys are fantastic. I love your energy.
Thank you.
I will tell you, through the whole interview, all I kept saying to myself is, I want to come watch you guys play, and I will. Not I want to, but I will.
I hope you do. Let us know when you're going to come. We'll have a great night.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This was a fun show. Stay tuned on Guitar Tales. We have so much great stuff going on. And apropos of one of the things we chatted about tonight that we're promoting the hell out of, we are doing a Van Halen panel show that we're lining up, which I'm very excited about. And we're going to have dear friend of the show, Season 1, Big Daddy Abel, taking us out. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Take care, Dave. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm number 2. No, I was the second. That's right. I was the second one. The second on Guitar Tales, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching it right now. I'm Big Daddy Abel, the Amish Outlaws. I gotta go back to work. Here we go. Guitar Tales, watch it!